The roadmap to success from the one who sings. Zolani Mahola is an award-winning South African singer and actress. In October 2024, Zolani performed at Carnegie Hall in New York City as part of their 30th anniversary celebration of South African democracy. She is also the subject of 2 upcoming film projects. Both are set for release in 2025. Zolani's passion for environmentalism extends to her role as an ambassador for the Sea Change Project, and she continues to inspire with her music and activism.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Hello. My name is Zolani Mahola, and I'm so happy to be here this afternoon with all of you to share my story, but also to share the story of us, because our individual story, of course, matters, but so does our collective one. In my last year of high school, I was working at a bulk retail store called Macro, and I was working as a switchboard operator. I never could have imagined that 10 years later, I would co-write and sing the most successful World Cup song of all time, Waka Waka. And I'd love to do a small rendition of it here for you today. You're a good soldier, choosing your battles. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get back in the saddle. You're right on the front line, and everyone's watching. We're getting closer, it's getting serious, this isn't over. The pressure's on, you feel it, but you got it all. Believe it, when you forget up, oh, oh. If you forget up, eh, eh. Zamina, Zambalewa. It's time for Africa. I never would have imagined that that would be my story, especially if you backtracked quite a few years to my childhood. I remember growing up in the Eastern Cape in a small location called New Brighton, and I was polishing the stoep. And many of you maybe don't know what a stoep is, but I guess it's kind of like a veranda or you know, something to step outside the house, right? So I was polishing it, and I must have been about 10 or 11 years old. And that was a very intense time in my life, because just a couple of years before that, my mother had very abruptly passed away. And I was, unbeknownst to my family, living with a very, very terrible and shameful secret. The secret was the fact that my stepbrother was abusing me sexually for a number of years. And nobody in my family ever knew this up until the time I was an adult. And so it was me, this tiny little 11-year-old, polishing this stoop and escaping into my very favorite pastime, which is my pastime today, into music. Because I was listening to a song on the radio, a song by the Manhattans. What is this song? Darling, you send me. I know that you send me. Oh, honest you do, honest you do. All of a sudden, I hear a different sound coming up over the airwaves. It is the sound of footsteps. These footsteps are coming up the main road of my street. They're coming, and I hear them getting louder and louder as they're approaching. And as they're approaching, they're not only the footsteps, but they're also voices. Voices, 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 because ladies and gentlemen, this was the time, the last dying years of the system of apartheid that had brutalized my people for so many years, and they were coming, and the voices were chanting, and there I was, my 11-year-old self, somehow almost by osmosis, pulled into the throng and raising my own individual voice to join with a collective. In the morning at 4 o'clock, we are going to be free Mandela. I did not know who this Mandela was, but such was the power of that collective movement of being a part of that body, that unit, that union, that I could not but be in and amongst it. 5 years later, who knew that the story of this country of ours would come to change, and this very Mandela would become not a terrorist any longer in his country, but the first democratically elected president of South Africa. Did you hear the news on the radio today? People have agreed to give their love away. I can't wait to be there in line. The politicians have agreed to honor and obey. They'll come down and listen to what the people say. I can't wait to be there in line. Fast forward to 2010, the World Cup is here. All the naysayers have been proved wrong. Everyone who said we could not pull it off, South Africa will never pull it off. A World Cup in Africa, what? We'll never manage to do it, but guess what? We did. And there was little Zolani, not so little anymore, but there I was singing this World Cup song, this anthem that had come all the way from West Africa, from Cameroon. It traveled all the way around our wonderful continent and was somehow here amongst us in 2010, and we were singing it with this Colombian superstar, Shakira. And it should have been the highlight of my life. But there I was in the bowels of Orlando Stadium, hearing the crowds, hearing the vuvuzelas, hearing the crowds, and feeling so small. In that moment, I didn't feel that this was the pinnacle of my career. In that moment, there was a collision of an old story and a new one. That old story, that one of a lack of worth, that one of a lack of value, that I had interpreted from the actions of my stepbrother, from the loss of my mother. They were fighting right there in that arena, in that basement, until I had to make a decision to shake off this old story. And I'm proud to tell you that I went up. I left that basement, I went up and I stood in the center with Shakira, and there she was shaking her thing, and there I was shaking my thing, and we were singing, Zamina, mina, eh, eh, waka, waka, you remember, come on, Zamina, mina, Zamina, Zamina, mina, eh, eh, waka, waka, eh, eh, Zamina, mina, Zamina, it's time for Africa. 25 years in the music industry. I've been a public figure for more than half of my life now. I've gone all over the world being able to use my voice and use my gifts to spread a message of unity, to spread a message of love. I find myself looking at our world today. I look at our continent. I look at our country, South Africa. I look at our world. And I see that there are stories that are competing. One story of brutality, of callous disregard for humanity. Another story of collective action, of deep humanity, of deep care, of collaboration. And I'd like to invite us here in this gathering to find ourselves part of the second story, where we are using not only our individual voices, but our collective voices. We are using them to amplify a story that will live in the hearts and in the minds of generations that have not yet been born. They say that the best way to predict the future is to create it, no? Powerful people in this room. Powerful people who have had so much to overcome yourselves. And perhaps like me, sometimes you have that little vulnerable moment of that little, oh, what's that? Oh, not me, no. You. Not only you though, all of us. We all have the power to come together and choose that vision we want for our continent and for our world. A world where there is safety, a world where there is common humanity, and a world that is safe for not only our children, but for the children of our world. In closing, I'd like to share a song that has not yet been released. It is a song called When You Step Up.